What's up? Welcome to Star Wars Newsnet. My name is Tyler. You can follow me on Twitter at TyBrad5, but like and subscribe to the channel, please, because today we have a Starfighter, like six-pack. So it's going to unpack just 6 things that are on my mind, mostly about Starfighter, because we had some brand new news that came out this week. So we got like 3 or 4 Starfighter things. We got one like Carrie, Beck, Dave Filoni that we're going to throw at you. And then just like a little fun one. Just indulge me, please. Like hold on to the end. But first and foremost, we have the Mia Goth cast announcement, which, I can't say that I am super familiar with like Mia Goth in general, but the fact that she seems to be really good at these like over the top, maybe like perfect weirdo, I guess is how our very own Star Wars News' very own Miguel put it, characters. To match that energy with a Ryan Gosling just feels like a match made in heaven for me. I think that if we really want to have like this next Starfighter movie, the one after Mando and Grogu, really take off, like this has to be cast really well. And she supposedly is going to play like one of the villains. Let me put her back up here. She's one of the villains that's going to take on Ryan Gosling's character, where he has to protect his nephew from Mia Goth. And apparently we're gonna have like a host of villains. She's one of several villains that we're going to see. And let me just pull up a little bit from an article that our very own Miguel wrote, because this will really kind of give us a little bit more like insight. Because I think one thing that Miguel touches on here is that Mia Goth, stepping up to play one of the villains. He says, honestly, I love this pick. She screams the perfect kind of weirdo in a lovable sense. Just watch 5 minutes of T. West movies who can blend in Star Wars just perfectly. There's a specificity to Star Wars casting, I believe. You can't just cast Ryan Gosling in a lead role. Oh, wait. So his point, though, is that for a movie that is already cast an A-lister like Ryan Gosling, who you put Ryan Gosling on a poster, every single person knows who that is. And if you have the brand of Star Wars behind him, there's not going to be a single person who doesn't know this movie is coming out. Now, whether or not they go see that movie is a different thing entirely. But we have an actress like Mia Goth who can, I think, really grow into this role, who can not necessarily take, center stage based off of her name and like name brand alone, but someone who might be able to really dive into an over the top evil character, which I love. And I imagine we'll soon get the casting of the kid that's going to play Ryan Gosling's, nephew. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing who that kid, is. I hope that, again, sucks that we haven't done say this. Also, I apologize for my background. I'm moving, blank slate. This kid, let's treat him well. Let's treat him with respect. Let's let him be a kid, please. But that was one thing I wanted to hit on, was I thought that this casting was exciting, even as someone who's not familiar with her work and what she's done. Like the X trilogy isn't something that I have seen, or Pearl, like not something that I've watched. But I might have to go give those things a look just to kind of get a feel for who we might be seeing in Star Wars. If you aren't wanting to go back and watch her previous works, go check out. There are 2 movies that she's in, big time movies coming out that she is in and has a role in. The first one being Del Toro's Frankenstein movie, starring Star Wars' own Oscar Isaac, of course, Poe Dameron himself, who is playing Dr. Frankenstein. That is a Netflix only film, which, don't even get me started. The fact that that film is not in theaters, and we should have that in theaters. Instead, Netflix has to consolidate it straight to their streaming platform. It like really pisses me off. And that's a topic for another day, about movies that go straight to streaming and kind of get lost from into the ether of streaming. And we don't get to have this cultural conversation around it, because this Frankenstein movie looks like one that if it was in theaters, a lot of people might be talking about for the days, weeks, months after it comes out. Instead, it's going to be lost to Netflix, and we'll talk about it for a day, and then we might not be talking about it much more. Very sad. But anyway, she's in this movie. You can go check it out. And then also, speaking of theaters, though, the theater experience maybe of the 2026 would be Christopher Nolan's Odyssey film. She is in Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, and guys, this movie is going to be bonkers. I cannot wait to go see it. So 2 projects she's in the next year. Go check them out. We might get a better idea of who we're going to be welcoming into the Star Wars world. But Starfighter, honestly, is a really surprising film. So that was number one. Mia Goth is number one slash, the casting update number two. So number three, 2/3 here, Starfighter. Okay. Just Starfighter in general. How do we feel about this being our 50th anniversary film? I'm really curious how people feel about this being the movie that comes out in 2027 as the 50th anniversary for Star Wars. Because on one hand, I love the idea that the movie that we have to celebrate 50 years of Star Wars is going to take us into a place that Star Wars has never gone, which would be beyond the Skywalker saga on the big screen. Like, that's something we've never done. Obviously, there are projects that have taken place outside the Skywalker saga, both in literature, both on Disney Plus, but we've never gone there on the big screen in a movie. And this is going to be taking a leap. We're going to be taking the plunge. And I'm curious what people think about that. Is this something that people maybe should be more excited for? Or is it so far away we haven't really wrapped our minds around 50 years of Star Wars, Starfighter in theaters, and how we're going to be taking this deep dive into the deep side of the pool that we've never gone in because of, one, maybe fear, that we're afraid of what it lies on the deep end, but also because we've just now mastered swimming, like the Skywalker saga. We love diving into where we're comfortable, and it's a great place. But could this deep end of the pool present more unique stories that we haven't got to experience, a new exciting adventure that we didn't even know was possible? There are both sides to that coin, to be sure, but I am a little bit cautiously optimistic as someone. If you've been following Newsnet for a while, you know that I've been clamoring for stories outside the Skywalker saga, because I think that Star Wars is not the story of the Skywalkers and that's it. Like, to me, Star Wars is this mythology and this anthology, really, that expands thousands of years and is bigger than any one person or one family. Even if that Skywalker family is, in for many people, Star Wars, I think that Star Wars can expand beyond that and find ways to stay culturally relevant through that for the next 50 years as well. Again, excited for this movie, but I am curious, like, is this the right choice? And that kind of leads me into, the next part of the six pack here, which is Sean Levy, Ryan Gosling. But let's start with the Ryan Gosling vibe check. I can't remember a time in my entire life where Star Wars cast someone that I was like, oh my gosh, like, I know who that is in a way that never would have seemed like Star Wars. And that was Ryan Gosling. It felt like an out of body experience when I saw him walk on the celebration stage. It was never something that crossed my mind as possible in Star Wars. Not that actors like Ryan Gosling can't make the leap into a galaxy far, far away, but when you just know the Ryan Gosling shtick and you've seen him like in Barbie, and then you have Blade Runner 2049, and you're like, that guy's gonna be in Star Wars. Like, the Hollywood heartthrob Ryan Gosling is gonna lead a Star Wars film. It still doesn't feel real. And I guess we'll have to do a Ryan Gosling movie breakdown at some point and go through our favorite Ryan Gosling films on here and maybe rank them and say which Star Wars character, like which character from previous films do we want his Star Wars character to emulate more of, and maybe take bits and pieces of Ryan Gosling characters and form the ultimate Star Wars character. Maybe we can do something like that. But I'm very curious how the fandom is going to respond to Gosling overall. I think right now I would say it's overwhelmingly positive because of the person standing next to him too, which is Sean Levy. And Levy is obviously riding high. Like, we're talking about a guy that's been a part of Stranger Things, massive success. We're talking about someone that is coming off the high of Deadpool and Wolverine. This person has positive, name recognition attached to him, and that's not going away anytime soon, because now his next project is Star Wars, and we're coming off of the highs of the Sean Levy experience, and now we're going to give a Star Wars show or a Star Wars movie, and I cannot wait to see what this movie is, because Ryan Gosling has been in some great action movies. So Star Wars is this Starfighter. This screams like some sort of high-paced action type movie. There's villains that are on the pursuit of them. And so, we have a storyline vibe check with Sean Levy is what I'm calling this point. And we have Ryan Gosling as like the uncle that's saving his nephew from Mia Goth and other characters. But what does that look like? And that's something I'm really excited to get little nuggets of as this thing enters into production over the next, I guess, starting, I'm guessing in the fall is when they say. Like what the fall actually means, I don't know. But the fact that this is, we're in pre-production and we are actually going to have little nuggets of a Star Wars film very soon is very exciting for me. I was a part of Star Wars Newsnet, like not even during much of the film era. So for me to be able to like talk about this stuff every week is going to be really fun. But I'm curious what the general consensus is from everyone on the little nuggets of a story that we have. It's obviously not very fleshed out. We're going to get more as time goes on. But who is this young kid going to be? I can't wait to see a picture of like Mia Goth and some of the other villains, surrounding Ryan Gosling, this kid with Sean Levy there doing the little fist pump. And, this, I really wish that we could have gotten, some hands in this photo because, nothing tells me, this is like a random theory. Okay, bear with me now. When two bros are hanging out and doing the photo, Tom Cruise is a master of this, right? Where, one person can do like the fist bump, one person do the point, one person do like, deuces or whatever, but you can't have both people standing down, like arms down, hands in pockets, right? You can't have both people doing that. Both people can't do the fist bump. Like I wanted to see, what they looked like together in some of these photos. Like this one person, it's the arm, like right here. Does that, I don't know if that matters at all to anyone else except for me, but for whatever reason, I vibe with that. Number 5, Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni here. Talked about this a lot on the Star Wars News Net Live. This is definitely going to be a hot button topic for a while now, I guess, because this is the succession of Lucasfilm. And I did want to kind of throw in another little nugget of what Miguel said in his piece from A Galaxy Far, Far Away. And if you haven't been following what Miguel's been putting out there, you definitely should, because if you have been reading Miguel's piece for the last year and a half, 2 years, you would have been knowing for the last year and a half, 2 years that Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni were very clearly being groomed to assume Kathleen Kennedy's role after she departed. We have been talking about this on here for months, for almost years at this point. So it wasn't a surprise to any of us. In fact, we were just thinking, what are the clear roles going to be at this point now? And he kind of brings up this great question is, when will the official announcement be made? How do they want to go about this announcement? Is this going to be a big spectacle? Is this going to be a Friday news dump? How much attention are they wanting to draw to the departure and then the takeover? Because we know that as Star Wars fans or anything, we're not normal online, that's for sure. But, he's wondering, could Kennedy stay on until the fall? So perhaps like October 30th to mark the anniversary of when she took over. It's an interesting question. But he says like the biggest question mark for him is what is keeping her there. Is it finishing The Mandalorian and Grogu? Is it starting production on Starfighter? Is she waiting for Filoni and Beck to come back from shooting Ahsoka season 2? Is she just waiting to line up the finances to start her own production company? These are very interesting questions. Like what is keeping her here at Lucasfilm until whenever that date is? And we know based off of literally what, she has said is that she's stepping down from this role, but she's not leaving Star Wars entirely. She's not leaving Lucasfilm, nor do I think she should. Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni have zero experience in the, being a studio executive to launch a movie, like a feature film. If Kathleen Kennedy is anything, she is a Hall of Fame, world class, one of the greatest producers in Hollywood history. Yes, she's one of the greatest to have ever done that particular role. Has she flopped a bit as a studio executive, as the president of this company? At times, yes, for sure. But let's not act like the entire Kathleen Kennedy regime has been a failure. There are several things in the Kathleen Kennedy presidency, or, being in charge of Lucasfilm, that make me know that she has done a better job than most would have. And while that maybe feels like you're coming up a little short, there is a lot to be thankful for, but also be excited for the future. Like Carrie Beck, I think, is going to handle most of the business side. Dave Filoni's going to be more on this creative side. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with maybe some of their strengths, but I think they can both dip and dab in a little bit of everything. And Kennedy's going to be here helping them, I think, bridge the gap on some of these films. Like it would not surprise me if Kennedy's going to definitely be helping with production on Starfighter and be labeled as one of the executive producers of Starfighter. She's definitely obviously going to be up there for Mando and Grogu. That's not surprising at all. The talks about, Miguel mentions like her own production company. that's something that I really am curious to hear more about. I wouldn't be surprised if she wants to, go work with Spielberg and go work it with at Amblin for a little while. Could she be waiting for season two, Ahsoka season 2 to wrap? That should be any time, like over the next like month or two. I can't imagine, shooting. They started shooting, I believe, right after Celebration. And so like they're in the midst of that right now, kind of setting up for maybe this fall departure that Miguel is hitting at. So Carrie Beck, Dave Filoni, this is going to be something we talk about for a while. Obviously, we'll hit more on this when the announcement's made and we get a little bit more details from the future. I wonder, and again, this is entirely speculation. Part of me wonders, are they holding back some announcements on some projects, even like when's this Starfighter, some more casting, more production news from Starfighter until maybe the new regime takes over, just to give a little more oomph. Like, we're announcing this right now, they're stepping in, there's some interview with the two of them talking about their new roles, and Carrie Beck's able to throw out a few nuggets on this movie that she's been in meetings for to help set up. And Dave talks about, yes, as the new creative, whatever of Lucasfilm, I'm able to, handle this side of things. This is an example of how I've done that already as I'm being, molded into this role. I think that makes perfect amount of sense. So that's pretty much a look at all the Star Wars news. Again, just run through this real quick, and then we'll get to the final sixth thing that I want to talk about. Number one was, Mia Goth being cast. She's going to be a villain. We need an over-the-top villain. I love the idea that like we're gonna have a woman like take this lead. I love the fact that this is someone that has some different, has like some experience to her name, and is going to be in some big projects before Starfighter comes out. And so more people might have a better idea of who she is, including myself, but also isn't going to be probably this superstar that makes it impossible for us maybe to differentiate, the actor from this character, because that might be something that happens with Ryan Gosling. Like, am I going to be immersed in whatever character Ryan Gosling plays, or is that just going to be Ryan Gosling to me the entire time? I don't know if you ever saw the movie Fall Guy, but it was a really funny movie, and Ryan Gosling was great in it. But the entire time, I couldn't even remember the character that Ryan Gosling played. Like, he was just Ryan Gosling to me in that movie. And could that movie fall victim of that? I hope not, because Star Wars is not the same franchise as others, where it's like, we're gonna bring in this A-lister in here and they're gonna like take over this role, knock it out of the park, and it's fine. Star Wars is more of, when if an A-lister is coming in, like, they need to become that character. Just like Pedro Pascal, who is, on top of Hollywood right now. Pedro is everywhere. And he's not even in the Mandalorian suit that often. He's just doing the voiceover role at this point and very rarely shows up. But he's, I think, going to be in the movie. I think we're going to see his face. But he has become the Mandalorian in a lot of ways. And when you hear Pedro's voice and he does the Mando voice, like, he is the Mandalorian, like he's on the cover of the magazines. And I don't see just Pedro there. I see Mando, I see Din Djarin. And so I'm wondering, whatever character he ends up playing, really hope that that's good. So the vibe checks for Ryan Gosling are high right now. How we feel about this being our 50th Star Wars film, I would say moderate to high. I love the idea of pushing forward in the fandom. We're pushing beyond the Skywalker saga. But again, what does that look like? Story, like a vibe check here with Sean Levy again. Love a good vibe check, guys. We love a good vibe check. So story back here. Escape, running from villains, protecting a child, all very much in the Star Wars ethos and the Star Wars mythos. So I don't know why I said ethos, Star Wars mythos. Definitely something we've seen before, but how is it going to be revved up? How is it going to be different and unique? And how are we going to play into what happened at the end of The Rise of Skywalker? Like, how is that going to play a role in what we see? Like, we have no idea what the future holds. This is going to be 5-ish years afterwards. Are we going to hear like name drops of a Master Skywalker, of Rey out there? Are we going to hear about a Finn, a Poe Dameron? Are any characters like a Maz Kanata that could easily maybe show up? Are we going to see any of these sequel characters? Because I don't think we're going to see any of the big three from the sequels, but could we see someone else come in the line? That's something that I'm interested with. Obviously, talked plenty about Carrie and Filoni. If you're interested, go check out Star Wars Newsnet Live for a little bit more of that. But last thing, number 6 in the 6-pack here, and this is just indulge me for a moment because I'm very excited, because every week on Star Wars Newsnet, our very own Josh, he does his character spotlight of the week. And this week was General Grievous. And the thing I love about these character spotlights, and if you haven't, gotten to read it, go read it. The thing I love about the character spotlights is I learn so much about the characters every single week. And sometimes it's characters I really thought I knew a lot about. Now, General Grievous is not one that I feel like I knew a ton about before, like his backstory. So, like this whole stuff about, I knew the name, like Kalish Warlord. I knew that name. I didn't necessarily know that that's who General like Grievous like was, like fully like know that story. But most of his life, obviously, we know documented in these canon reference books, like magazine issues, trading cards. And so we don't know if it's going to be retconned at all, but I love this a little bit. I'm just going to talk about this right here, but go check out this article on Star Wars Newsnet if for more on General Grievous, or if you just want to take a fun trip down memory lane. Even it's really fun to read and it's really insightful. But I did not even know that Grievous's real name is Kwaimayan Jai Shalal. Like, I did not know that was his real name, and I love that. And he grew up on the planet Kali in wild space. I knew about the wild space, didn't know the planet's name. He idolized these Kalish warlords who returned home from battles with the neighboring species Yamari, a technologically superior foe. For Grievous, obviously, I knew he was dedicated to being this fearsome warrior, and that when the Yamari requested aid from the Republic, they sent Jedi. The Kalish were defeated, and Grievous hated the Jedi for this. And this is what starts Grievous killing Jedi and starting his lightsaber collection. He wanted to make them pay for aiding his sworn enemies. So, anyways, completely unrelated from everything else we talked about, I just wanted to say, go check out the character spotlight. General Grievous is, obviously filled in the Clone Wars and has a ton of animated, moments, along with, of course, Revenge of the Sith. But if you were curious about more of Grievous's backstory before then, Josh does a great job of laying it all out there. So I would go check that out if I was a General Grievous fan. I guess it's a six-pack General Grievous character spotlight. I'll go ahead and give my favorite General Grievous moment. Has to be when he says, "You fool, okay, let me hold on. Better General Grievous impression. You fool, I have been trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku." Okay, I can't do it. But anyway, that's my favorite moment because I remember being a kid in Revenge of the Sith. Like, come on, you see General Grievous pop up in Revenge of the Sith as a child, like if you're a prequel kid like myself, and he like has them the forearms come out, all four lightsabers ignite, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is able to somehow defeat that, because that's still beyond me, and it's whatever. But that's my favorite General Grievous moment. Obviously, he has a lot of great moments in animation. The 2D micro series duel between Grievous and the Jedi, when he literally just kicks people through stone walls and takes a lot of Jedi out, kind of a iconic part. Anyway, Star Wars six pack of the week. Make sure you check out Star Wars News Live. We'll be coming at you later this week with a new episode of Star Wars News Live. So check that out. Usually Thursdays, 10 o'clock Eastern time is the time to be there. Make sure you come and hang out with us. You can join our Discord channel as well. Go check out any of our articles. We drop that Discord link in there all the time. I'll probably put it here in the comment section. So go check that out. The timeline show. So the Star Wars Newsnet timeline show is something that my friend, Luke and I do. We're going through every single episode not every single episode. We're going through every single Star Wars project. So that's comics, books, mangas, shows, movies, one shots, everything in between. Episode 49 just hit, The Fallen Star. Go check that out. We'll be doing episode 50. We'll be going over Midnight Horizon, which is another High Republic book. And we're getting close to, by the end of the year, we'll be done with the High Republic. I say getting close. Probably by the end of the year, we'll be done with the High Republic and moving on into like the prequels and Clone Wars, which is what I'm really excited for. So check out that. Miguel and I just recorded Deep Space Cinema 4, which is going to be our movie podcast, and it's the 4th episode, and we're going over Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. We talk about Lilo and Stitch and Ballerina. That'll probably be dropping this weekend, so you can look for that on like Saturday. Midnight Horizon will be next week. Star Wars isn't live this Thursday. Of course, thank you all for joining. Hit that like and subscribe button for more chats. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you are on social media, like just at Star Wars Newsnet, all right? Or you can follow me at Typewriter5, okay? Apple and Spotify, at Star Wars Newsnet. Go give us a review, 5-star review. Let us know, okay? I enjoy talking Star Wars with y'all every week. Star Star Wars is the best. So for Light and Life, remember over there, we are all the Republic.